Hi, good morning. Rob Brown here in Memphis. Brandon Martin is in Ocala. We're starting to do morning show live from Ocala.
Live.
This is the farm report.
Double Celsius this morning. That's how I feel.
Well, I'm drinking some concoction that Audrey came up with: pineapple, cabbage, and
booze,
strawberries, and it's a detox thing. I'm telling you what, man.
Where's
it's
mine,
good.
Audrey? Where's mine?
Yeah,
that's all I want to know.
You take an IV of this stuff. It's good. Got the wind warning over here in Memphis today. Wind 25, 30 miles an hour. Wherever you're listening, always pay attention to the weather guys, weather gals. They know what they're doing. Got a lot to cover today. Chris Lee, the Southeastern 14, always one of the best. Covers them all. Soon to be 16. And second segment, Mitch Davis, the MitchDavisShow.com is going to check in. Yancey Porter will be with us later in the week on Friday. Hopefully, he'll be able to come by the remote down in Oxford at the Vitamin Shop. And in the third segment, Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. Yeah, if you can't be a Tighter Insider unless you're a subscriber to Tighter Insider, and it's only $48 a year, okay? So, Brendan, we're going to have some fun today. And also, we're going to tell people how I didn't even know this, and I do a show. Hit the allow notifications thing in settings. I'll let Brendan handle that, and you'll get an alert every day. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, I just let everybody know because my daughter, who's 11 years old, is still, she teaches me about technology. She said, Dad, you got to tell people on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, you got to allow notifications on your phone, Android, whatever. Go to your settings, go to YouTube, or go to notifications and select YouTube to get a notification, because then when we're live or we put new stuff on, you will get a notification if you're subscribed. How do you subscribe? Well, it's really easy. If you're on a desktop computer, look for the little YouTube icon in the bottom right-hand corner. I put it in there for you. Hover your mouse over it, click on it. It's going to say subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And if you're on your phone and you're seeing the chat, just pull down. Just do a little pull down. It will reveal underneath it a little button. It'll say subscribe. It'll make it real easy. And then by tomorrow and stuff, I'm going to have a link for you guys to go to and make it super easy. So that is how you join the show, and you get free notifications and get this great content from this guy, Rob Brown, and everyone else on the show for free. So support us. We want to help you. There. Yes. That's all I have.
SECU.
Yes. SECU. All right.
SECU.
I'm going to take us to the open, Rob, and we'll be right back with Chris Lee right after this short break.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown here with you on this Tuesday morning. Chris Lee, man, how fast is the news happening? It's happening so fast that you can't leave your phone for more than a few minutes. And there's something else with the NCAA. And, everybody's saying, is the NCAA done? Well, probably they are. But from your vantage point, we got to have somebody to be a leader. And we're going to have to do something. But let's get your thoughts on what's happening with the latest NCAA news and this SEC basketball race, which is one of the more exciting down to the finish races that we've had in a while. But I think the league's better than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, I do too. We were having a podcast yesterday, and one of my co-hosts asked me, he said, it feels to me like there are 5 teams in this league that could make a Final Four. Am I overstating it? I said, no, I don't think you are. And those 5, of course, would be Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Florida. I think it's a very good league. Now, unfortunately, the cannibalization has kind of taken over, maybe knocked Ole Miss out of the picture temporarily. Ole Miss can get back in, and A&M to the very edge of the bubble. Be very interested to see how the committee would process what A&M has done and not done to this point if the selection show were today, but it's not. we got 2-3 more weeks for this to play out, and there's a lot of basketball to be played.
Last night, I'm listening to Rebel Yell Hotline with our friend Yancey Porter, who was supposed to be on this morning, but he's got the funk, he said. But they were thinking they've got to beat Alabama, and that gives them a good shot. How close is Ole Miss? Even though they're going to be over 20 wins, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I've done bracket guesses for years, and it's kind of always a beauty is in the eye of the beholder situation. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the committee is going to value and not. I will tell you this. I could make a case that Ole Miss is in, and that would be based on KPI and ESPN Strength of Resume. KPI has Ole Miss at 39, and Strength of Resume has Ole Miss at 33. That's as of, I think, 2 days ago. I wouldn't think they have changed much. In the meantime, Ole Miss has not played a game. No other teams have. They can move up or down. That is firmly, really, if you're in the top 45, I think you're going to get consideration. Now, the problem is the predictive computers.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is 86 in BPI, 74 in Ken Palm. Those say, hey, Ole Miss might barely be an NIT team based on that. Now, the committee doesn't consider one set and not the other. The first two are the resume computers. The second two are how good are you? And this is the kind of information we use to set a line. So usually, from what I have read, I think the committee, once you get about 8 down, the committee seems to consider more the resumes, which that would be good in Ole Miss's favor. But the strength computers are also kind of loud too. I don't know how that balances out. I will tell you this. Wins over Florida and Mississippi State, also A&M. A&M is probably one of the last 2 or 3 teams in the tournament right now. I think a lot of these teams in this range, including A&M, have got more wins of consequence. So I think that's going to be one thing that hurts Ole Miss. But again, lots of basketball to be played.
Yeah, and you mentioned Texas A&M, Buzz Williams. They a couple of years ago had 27 wins, did not get in, and almost won the NIT. But again, they wanted to be in the tournament. Those Ken Palm rankings, strength of schedule. Yeah, if you've got to be in the top 40 at this point, I would think, to really feel good about your chances in the tournament. Here's another team I want to ask you about. We talk about Tennessee and Kentucky. Those two right there, Tennessee won in Lexington, but Kentucky's the most talented team in this league. They're on again, off again. They lost at LSU at the buzzer Wednesday night. Then they go back home and beat a hot Alabama team 115-95. Is this Kentucky does this a lot? They get hot in the tournament, the SEC tournament, and then they go on a roll. You see that happening with this Kentucky team? They've got really good guards like Florida does.
We had a discussion about this on our power rankings yesterday, and the thing that I brought up, I think we put too much on recency. If you look at Kentucky, obviously that win over Alabama was really loud, showed what Kentucky could be. You go back one game before that, gets beat at the buzzer at LSU by an LSU team that might be in the NIT today, might not be. And for good measure, LSU followed that with the stinker at home over Mississippi State. You go back 2 weeks ago, Kentucky was losing to Gonzaga at home, to a Gonzaga team that was really nowhere near the edge of near, I guess, maybe first 8 or 10 out, but not in. And it just feels like we played that game with Kentucky all year. I've said all along, there's really been only one team that's been super consistent and great. That's been Tennessee. Tennessee's stinkers, they don't usually put consecutive games together where the Vols play badly. I mean, I don't know. If you said to me, hey, Chris, Kentucky is going to the Final Four, I could believe you. If you said to me, hey, Chris, Kentucky is going to play awful, it's not going to defend, it's going to get upset in the first round, I could also believe you.
That's the problem with the talent that they have. Best talent in the league. You just don't know what guys are going to show up on which day. Florida, they've won, I think, 8 of their last 9 games, and they're playing really good basketball. What made me a fan of what they were doing was looking at the statistic 3 weeks ago when they were leading the nation in rebounding. And they've got really good guard play. How deep can these Gators go?
That's one of my 5 teams I think could make the Final Four. No, I think that you've got Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida. I've maintained for a while they're the same class of teams. They are really good offensive teams. Defensively, not always there. It can happen in degrees. Alabama showed up and defended at times. Kentucky went through a week where it defended. I don't know that Florida's top-end firepower is quite what it is at Alabama or Kentucky, but this is a team that did go and beat Kentucky. Look, I talked about consistency a minute ago, Rob. The other team in there that's been really consistent has been Florida. Last time Florida got beat double digits, it was early to mid-January, I think. I don't have that in front of me. Now, I don't think Florida's schedule, and that was the at Tennessee game in game 4 of the SEC schedule. I don't think that Florida's schedule since then has necessarily been what some of the other teams. I mean, although I look, they've played at Alabama, they played at A&M, they played at Kentucky. But I mean, there's some other teams that probably played tougher schedules. But here's my point: I think Florida and Tennessee have been really consistent, and that's something I value going to a tournament. But again, the flip side of the coin of inconsistency is you can be really good sometimes and string together a good week or two. And so I think that's on the table for teams too. I'm just more nervous about picking a team that week in, week out, you don't know what you're going to get. But the NCAA tournament always brings us a team that was an 11 seed or a 12 seed and gets it to the Elite Eight. And the definition of one of those teams is inconsistency, right? Because if you put together a long stream of consistency, you wouldn't be an 11 or 12 seed. That's a lot of talking to say I value consistency, but then the tournament is it's teams, strings of teams sometimes that have been very inconsistent putting together a run. Somebody's always going to do it. Just putting your finger on who it is almost impossible.
Well, the other thing is San Diego State last year, Florida Atlantic. You had a bunch of guys that have been together for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. Those teams, watch out because that's who will show up. I won the office pool a few times betting on the final, the Sweet 16, the whole tournament, March Madness. And what I do is I just look at teams, in my opinion, that have really good guard play, but also look at the ones that I see that are consistent and that have been together for a long time. That's the part about Kentucky. All that talent, do they know each other? Do they know how each other are going to react during tough times? That's what you don't know. I don't think any of these Florida guys on their starting 5 started their careers out in Gainesville. Connect came from University of Northern Colorado. So there's a lot of different scenarios. And another one, South Carolina. I want to ask you, then we're going to get to some other stuff at the NCAA.
I have to say go Bears every time you say Northern Colorado.
Every time. Because
every time. Yeah. So,
the most famous Bear of all, Connect, and Brendan Martin.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Chris, I mean, it's South Carolina. They're 10-4, and people say, people love to say they've been exposed. Well, they must be pretty good because they're 10-4, and they've won over 20 games.
Yeah, on talent, they are not up there with those other 5 teams. I don't think there's much question about it.
No way.
The Ken Pom ratings and those things suggest that they're not. But at the same time, this is a team that's got a lot of guys that played a lot of ball. BJ Max played a lot of ball. Talon Cooper's played a lot of ball. I'm leaving. Miles Studi's played a lot of ball. Just not at South Carolina, which is the case for a lot of teams, except for Tennessee, which is another reason I'm kind of big on the Vols. Those guys have played a lot of ball together in past years. But here's what I'm getting at. They are old. And they have developed a style. And one thing I like about them, sometimes your style can transcend your talent, what you're able to do to people and be disciplined. They got a point guard who's very disciplined in Talon Cooper. They are very good at getting out and guarding you on the 3. Ole Miss, that game in Oxford I thought was going to be interesting this weekend because Ole Miss shoots a high percentage from 3. It's not a high volume team, but it shoots a high percentage. Well, what Carolina did is it cut down Ole Miss's volume and it cut down Ole Miss's efficiency. And that's why Carolina won that game going away. Lamont Pierce said something afterwards. He said, and I don't have the whole comment. I heard it kind of in passing and the audio was not great, but he said something about these kids. Confidence is a thing. And, for them to go and get beat by 40 at Auburn, and they took a loss right before that too that was unexpected. For a team that had been picked last in the league, everybody's been saying all along this team has overachieved. And I do think there's some truth to that, to unwind all that and then go and beat a team in its place like Ole Miss that has not lost many games in that building.
Yeah.
I think that was something, and I think it points to the fact that this team has still got some good ball ahead of it, even if it's not as talented as maybe those top five.
Yeah, and I agree with that. They bounced back after getting drilled, and then they go on the road, and Ole Miss had to win that game, and they didn't get it done. So that was a huge get for South Carolina. All right, now what's going on this case with the NCAA? They're getting body slammed again, going after Tennessee and Virginia. You know what I think about NIL? Just put it in trust and give the kids a little bit of money now. But you can't deny people the right to make money. That's
sure.
You're never gonna win that battle in court. 9-0. We know the decision. How many more Nick Sabans, Chip Kellys, Jeff Hafleys at Boston Colleges are we going to see? I think we're going to see a lot coming forward. They just want to coach football. They're sick of being Monty Hall from Let's Make a Deal. They're not agents, and they got to move the December signing period. How do you get ready? You got to deal with the portal, December 5th to January 2nd. December signing date, like December 20th, roughly. Get ready for a bowl game and NIL. I mean, Nick Saban would still be coaching. I absolutely believe it if it wasn't for NIL.
Man, I don't know. With most things in life, if your house is caught on fire, that's enough. With the NCAA, it has to catch on fire maybe and fall into a sinkhole, and then maybe that's not. I think I've used that analogy before with other things, but you just like my point is that with most things, there's a logical breaking point.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like we passed the logical breaking point 2 years ago. So now we're in that territory of, wait, this can't continue. Right. And I think that's right. I just don't know how long. I mean, you would think that it might have resolved before it got to this point where we lose a guy like Nick Saban. I've said a million times, I think if you're going to name a commissioner of college football, Nick Saban's your guy. Now he's out of football now. I mean, I know he's still got an office at Alabama and I guess gets paid by University of Alabama to help with something, but now he's in more of a position to do something about it, I would think, by being virtue of not being a football coach anymore. Mm-hmm. The league office is in his home state. I would hope that there's something in there. You got the Big Ten and the SEC starting to talk about, hey, what's this going to look like going forward? I can't keep up anymore. I mean, stuff happens so quickly and it's so complicated and there's so many variables, but you would think that all these things move us one step further towards a more cohesive solution, but who knows?
Well, the bottom line is if it's Nick Saban or it's a group of people like Urban Meyer, or you go get, Rick Neuheisel, we need leadership. We don't have any leadership right now. We have Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts. What the hell does he know about collegiate sports? I'll give him credit. Governors, by mandate of the state legislature, have to balance their budget. That's right. Good. But we've got to we need a guy like, if it's Nick Saban or Urban Meyer to come out and say, hey, when I was a ball coach, I came in to coach football. Y'all are throwing all this stuff on us, and I get paid a lot, but I can't keep assistants. That's what we got to be paying attention to.
Well, you also have a system that's founded under, we're going to treat, for a long time, we're going to treat football just like we treat women's volleyball and men's soccer and women's lacrosse or whatever. And that's never going to work with all the differences.
Well, bottom line is the women's sports, men's sports, Title IX, you got to be, and Mitch Davis is going to join us here in just a second, but you've got to find, okay, what makes money? There are 91 national championships the NCAA runs, okay? They don't run football. And is that going to go from a 14 playoff at $450 million a year to 12 teams? Does that transfer to $1.35 billion? Again, there's a lot of good comments coming in. David Arnoff, the kids need to be employees with benefits, retirements, and collective bargaining. You got to have structure. Everywhere else in the world, you've got structure. I mean, go back 10, 15 years ago, a lot of doctors left when Obamacare came in and went as hospitalists or whatever, went to work for hospitals and left their private practices. The free market will fix this, but in the meantime, I'll predict we're going to have a lot of 28 and 30-year-old head coaches at schools, and we ain't going to like it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get paid $6 or $10 million a year. You know why? Because they don't have the experience. And everybody always says, well, the coaches get paid all this money. You've got to think about the quality of the coaching. And I mean, David Arnoff's right. And I'm just saying, I just know some doctors that said, I'm going to leave and go work in a hospital so I know what I'm making. But again, that worked out because doctors that I know, most of them are still in private practice. It all works out. But Kirby Smart, you keep hearing about Arthur Blank and the Falcons. I don't think he'll take that. I mean, that's crazy. Nobody wants to be the Falcons head coach. But how long will Kirby Smart be able to maintain this driving at 110 miles an hour pace? Nobody can do that forever.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to enjoy coaching football. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not a Georgia insider, but I've talked to people who are, and the thought down there, I've heard this for a couple of months, is that they don't think Kirby Smart is in it to coach as long as Nick Saban did. It might be 3, 4, 5 more years than he's done with it too. Now, maybe if you change everything, it looks different. But yes, I think you're spot on.
I think we heard that with one of our Georgia 247 guys last week, and Dog Nation or whatever it was. He was just saying the same sort of thing. A lot of people have to think about Kirby's age. Kind of think about like his buy-in on this whole thing. I mean, and look at the level of frustration that he had at the end of last year. When you don't have to deal with it, and now you're coaching in what is going to be like NFL junior, which is completely and totally a mess. Why in the hell would you want to be a coach in college football right now? Why do you want to be the one that takes it on the chin? Because somebody's going to be the GOAT. There's going to be a bunch of assholes in this whole thing. Yeah. And so you're going to end up being that person. So what's the point? And I think that's why we see coaches taking, Chip Kelly taking a position as offensive coordinator. Why not get more and sort of hide out for a minute, get more in the X's and O's of it, because these new head coaches are going to be like, startup leader SEO guys, which is the worst job in the world, because I've done it before. It sucks. And it's really because you're making more mistakes than you are making good decisions. And in the world of media and everything else, those good decisions, they don't make the news. If it bleeds, it leads. And, right now the SEC is bleeding all over the place. Who wants to come in and be like, okay, I got this, I'm going to fix it? I don't know if I would want to, because you put your career at stake. And, I think that's why we're seeing a lot of these coaches, sort of insulating themselves and saying, okay, well, I'm going to see what happens here and then I'll make a move. And I think we're a good year from any sort of big moves, because, Sankey's come out and said, well, 2020, this season's going to be the same. We got a whole new college playoff system to install this time around, and I think, in the SEC, a la Oklahoma and Texas joining. I mean, there's a lot of other storylines, I think, that and issues that we're going to be tackling going forward than this particular thing, because I don't think anyone has the answers, and I don't think anybody wants to be the one with the answers.
Yeah. Well,
Brendan, Chris, go down. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rob.
No, you answer. I think he's right. Somebody's got to be the ones with the answers. We have got to have leaders step up.
Well, go down one more level. I'm not only the SEC Matters guy. If you went to Marshall or Miami of Ohio or someplace like that, you grew up going to games or going to games as a student, and that is mattering less and less. Look, the Sun Belt is the best non-Power 5, this best group of 5 conference out there, if we even do that anymore. and it's in a fertile recruiting territory where you can find some guys that Auburn and Alabama and LSU have overlooked. And what is happening there? You're seeing successful head coaches lead to be coordinators. You're seeing head coaches lead to be position coaches in the SEC. I think that's tragic. I'm not just dead. It's an SEC in the Big Ten, and everybody else can go pound sand guy. I really think college football is better when those guys have something to cheer for also. And I think what is going on there is awful.
Yeah. Well, look, Chris, we got Mitch Davis is going to be on with us here in just a second, and I know you got stuff that you've got to go do, but unbelievable conversation. If we don't get leaders, the mess will continue. And we're sitting here watching while, Rome burned while Nero fiddled. That's what's going on. I mean, it's just, that's nothing else. You can say it all you want. We have got to stop sitting on the sidelines. I'm talking about the so-called leaders and doing nothing because they don't want to be, you know what we need? We need a return of alpha male culture. Just go in there and say, look, knock off all this crap. This is how it's going to be. If you don't like it, you know what? Go to your little safe space or whatever, but get out of my face. I mean, that's what we've got.
Who's going to bestow the power on somebody to do that? I think
you just take it. It's like a stray dog that shows up on your porch. They come find you.
Yeah. What are you saying?
I will give you my idea on the way out the door. I've got to go record our stuff this morning for Hoops, but I'll give you my idea. And I don't know exactly what this looks like, but if I'm Charlie Baker today, I'm going to Nick Saban and say, hey, let's get in a room. Let's have a week somewhere in Destin or whatever. Let's get together some other retired coaches. Let's bring down some coaches currently that, before they start spring ball. Let's get in and lock ourselves in and let's hammer something out that'll work, that's pragmatic.
Correct.
They know all the things they've got to work around and just get it done. And I would do that until we figure something out. Is the first solution going to be perfect? No. Will it be a lot better than what we have now? I would bet my house on it.
Yeah, I would too. Chris Lee, tell them how they can follow you and keep up with you, and always love having you on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me as always. Southeastern 14, if you go to YouTube and search that, that's where we are. We are closing in on 15,000 subscribers. Subscription is not a paid thing. It's just like a follow. We are in the middle of basketball. I'm trying to follow baseball. That's 28 teams I'm following at once between those. And, hey, when football stuff happens, which it always does, we try to stay on top of that too. All the last week or two we've slipped a little bit there. But if you like your SEC sports from the 30,000-foot view, we're not as good as your favorite beat writer who's covering Auburn or Ole Miss or whoever. But if you want to know what's going on everywhere with everybody, I think we do a pretty good job.
You do a hell of a job. I love your show. Thanks so much.
I want my Vanderbilt hat.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris Lee. Be well, guys. We'll see you next week. Let's bring in Mitch. He's been patient, and I know he's got a real job to go to, so you want to roll him in. Mitch Lee, what's going on, buddy?
Mitch Davis.
Mitch Davis. Sorry, I'm dyslexic.
It's a Tampa Bay Rays fan. My God, he puts go Rays.
Screw you, man.
Chat.
Screw you.
Hey, where
on
is
my head now, dude?
Yeah.
God bless you.
Man.
So
where is Justin Ross? Is Justin in with us yet?
Yeah, he just popped in.
Okay, let's do this. Mitch, just patience today, kind of a wild day. We're going to talk with Justin Ross, one of our sponsors, the Vitamin Shop, opening up a new location in Oxford, Mississippi, home of the Ole Miss Rebels. We're going to be there Friday morning at 8 a.m. Central at the new Vitamin Shop. I love the Vitamin Shop. I have been a shopper, and my British friend Nigel calls it the Vitamin Shop. But the Vitamin Shop, you get real advice from people who know what they're doing. They're trained. Shot blocks, goo, probiotics, energy recovery supplements. Justin, you love working out. I love working out. This stuff really works. Let's talk about your new location in Oxford, because this is a big deal in a college town. You get one body, make it count.
Yeah, Rob. Hey, thanks for having me. Really excited about opening the Vitamin Shop in Oxford. We're open right now, but our grand opening's this Friday, March 1. We open up at 9:30. We're going to have a ribbon cutting at 10. You're going to be there. We're going to have athletes from Ole Miss, from the Grove Collective, who are going to join us from 10 to 1. All kinds of sales all weekend long. So please come and help us celebrate this grand opening. We're excited to be in Oxford, Rob. Really excited.
Yeah, it's a great market. What about the person that says, "Hey, I want to start working out, but I have a terrible diet." Can you go to the Vitamin Shop and get a structure, get a plan?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've got health. You just talked about the people that help you. They're called health enthusiasts, and they know everything about the store. You come in with any issues, and they'll help you get what you need to meet those goals, Rob. So that's how we differentiate ourselves from all the other places out there that do what we do, is our health enthusiasts.
Yeah, and I noticed that when I go in there, they're not giving you the blank stare. All right, before you go, how do they follow you? I know you're all over social media. Again, you've got one location, 5338 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, Mississippi. But this is the new one now. This is number 2.
Yep, this one is right beside Dick's Sporting Goods in the Oxford Galleria. So everyone knows where Dick's Sporting Goods in the Oxford Galleria is. 210 Merchants Drive. You can follow us on Instagram, _Oxford. So come see us this Friday. Looking forward to it, Rob.
Hey, we're going to have fun. I'm looking forward to talking to some of those Ole Miss players, because they are one of the hottest topics in college football. The Vitamin Shop, man, Friday morning, 8 a.m. in Oxford. See you there. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Let's bring Mitch in here. Mitch, wild day, man. A lot going on, and I appreciate
You're killing me
patience
today.
Yeah, patience, man.
Pulling the plug midway through my rip of the
Dude. Well, you know what? You talk smack about my Rays, and that's what's going to happen.
Hey, I'm
this program.
Get the hook. Get the hook.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to see your Rays play in July. I'll be down in Amelia Island for a week. So never been down there, never seen Tropicana Field.
You've never been down there? Oh, it's sexy down there. It's salty.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get down there. So we'll see what happens.
You're going to Amelia Island. Isn't that right up above Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's right. It's where is it? It's right below Jacksonville. So, but then you're going to go down to the Trop. Yeah.
So I think it's somewhere between Tampa and Jacksonville. Somewhere between.
Well, Jacksonville's over here, and I'm backwards, but that would be like this. So
I think it's below Tampa. I think it's below.
I'm going to look it up for you, because I think I know where it is, but I don't want to give out bad information. You all go ahead. I'll figure your vacation out, Mitch. Okay.
Yeah, Mitch, and look, Mitch, we got basketball, heavy race going on right now. Yeah. You know Kentucky basketball really well. You cover Mississippi State. You cover Ole Miss. This Kentucky team got a lot of talent. We just talked with Chris Lee about it. Let me give your top 5 in this SEC race right now. Is Tennessee good enough to go deep? And because I think they're going to win the regular season SEC championship. I don't know about the tournament, but they look strong.
Are they good enough? Yes. Will they? I don't know. If this is not, and Rob, I know I've said this a million times on your show and other radio shows, if this Tennessee team does not do it, there will not be another Tennessee team that has this opportunity. This team is a hell of a basketball team. They've got great shooting. They defend well. I love what Rick Barnes has. I'm just so leery about going, all in with Rick Barnes, all in with Tennessee, because we've all been burned picking Tennessee here in the last 5-6 years when they've had Grant Williams and Adam Schofield and those great teams that they could have, really, truthfully, they could have won a national championship with those guys. So, little leery on picking Tennessee. You mentioned Kentucky. I'll be down in Starkville, literally leaving, I think, in 3 hours, 4 hours going down there because I got baseball at 3, basketball at 4, or basketball at 6. So it's going to be it's going to be a wild day here in Mississippi. As far as Kentucky goes, again, I don't know what to think with Cal, because 1 second they're blowing out Alabama. They're looking really good against Auburn. And then the next second they're losing to LSU and Florida at home. And this is a Kentucky team that, again, like Tennessee, they have a lot of talent, but will they be able to cross over the threshold? I don't know. Calipari is notorious, and I've got a planned question for him tonight if Kentucky does lose to Mississippi State, talking about, having all this talent and underperforming. I mean, he wants to sit here and brag about NBA All-Stars and having 7 guys playing in Indianapolis during the All-Star game, which is a joke of a All-Star game. But really, truthfully, that's not really that impressive. I mean, that's not something that you wear across your chest. Go, oh my God, we've got 7 NBA All-Stars, when he's only got 1 national championship, 0 Final Fours in the last 9 years. So,
yes,
I mean,
last national championship 2012.
Yeah.
Last Final Four 2017.
Yeah.
2015.
No, the last. Let's see. Last Final Four was 15. The last SEC tournament championship was 2017.
Yeah. Again, I asked this: is Kentucky just not responding to everybody else in the SEC upping their commitment to basketball?
Well, I don't think it's that. I think that Kentucky has an inept coach, an incompetent coach that refuses to get with the times. I heard you guys beating the dead horse earlier about transfer portal and NIL and Kirby retire. I heard the beating of the dead horse earlier. It's the same thing with Coach Cal. I mean, you can sit here and talk about, oh, Coach Cal gets all the greatest players, he gets all the greatest talent, but what does he do with that? I mean, other than get them to the league, what does he do with that? And I see some of these the comments talking about, I won't write off Kentucky because talent will win you games, but teams win championships. Yes, but how far can Kentucky be taken with Coach Cal as their head coach? I mean, we've seen coaching malpractice with Coach Calipari. We saw it in the Florida game where he called a timeout, and his best play to come out of the timeout was a lob pass over the middle, over the top of Florida's big man that got blocked away. Kentucky loses the game. We've seen coaching malpractice with Coach Cal for the last 5 years. And also, we hear him say to Kentucky fans, oh, the SEC tournament doesn't matter. But yet you've got 25,000 Kentucky fans that pack Nashville each and every. I know that for a fact because my dad is one of those where he was going over the costs of the SEC tournament this year. I've got him hooked up with the media hotel and stuff like that. But the cost of him buying his books, the food, the alcohol, the fun times with his friends and the family and all that is well into thousands of dollars that he will be spending on to go see Kentucky play. Maybe 1, maybe 2 games, depending on their draw, depending on what Coach Cal takes him. So I think the legitimate question, and I plan on asking Coach Calipari this, and I'll probably be kicked out of the press conference at some point in Nashville, but asking Coach Cal, why is this the standard now? What do you tell the Kentucky fans that are wasting $2,000 to come watch you play? I mean, I have.
Please record this. Please record this question when you do this, because I will promote you all day long. I want to hear you drop that bomb in the presser. Please.
I've been wanting to ask this question for years, and really, truthfully, I've been scared to ask it. But I think that as our jobs as journalists, as our jobs as media members, it is our job to hold coaches to the fire, especially coaches who want to say, oh, I can't hide you at Kentucky. Kentucky's not for everyone. Okay, if that's the case, if that's what you tell student athletes, then why in the hell can we not ask you, about the investment the fans are putting in to come to Nashville? For my 6 family members that are coming to Starkville, they're driving over 3.5, 4 hours tonight to come watch Kentucky play, a game against a red-hot Mississippi State team. What do you tell those people who have invested all this time and money? Because Kentucky, like Mississippi, like Alabama, like Georgia, Kentucky is a very poor state, and these fans deserve better.
Well, let me say this. This is the same argument I make about these damn coaches that say, or the fans that say the bowl games don't matter. Then damn it, don't charge for the tickets and the hotel rooms, the cost of gas, airline tickets. Listen, I'm not old, and you're not old. Brendan's not old. But damn it, when you are on a team, you should try to win every game.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. And that's exactly what Kentucky, when Coach Calipari is saying that, is Hugh Freeze, that pitiful excuse after Auburn got their ass kicked in the Music City, but an embarrassment. Well, I just really didn't have them prepared. Well, in his defense, you got the transfer portal starts December 5th, NIL, you got to deal with December signing date, you got all that other stuff going. But, I mean, don't ever do that if you're a coach. You're not endearing yourself to the fans. And that's why Calipari is catching so much grief. I never heard Nick Saban say, we're just going down there we don't really care if we win, and I didn't have them prepared. Yeah, that's the standard. I don't pay attention to half-assed people. When I look at stock market, I look at the sports, I look for the very best people to see what they're saying. Mitch, I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you've got balls.
I appreciate that.
And you know what? The duty of the press is to hold those in positions of authority accountable. You're not there to be their friend so you can go golfing with them or go to their lake house.
Yeah, but
and if they want to invite you, that's fine.
But here's the issue. Because look, we're covering Florida. I got a whole website. We got staff of people that are out there all the time. You ask that question, you get one question, and then you will not get the microphone ever again. Yeah. Because they will shut you out. It's not a matter of the press not asking the questions. The press knows that if they ask the question, they won't get another question and they won't be effective at their job. So if you're a beat writer, then or whatever. So my point is, but the questions need to come from non-beat writers, people that can come in and ask these one-off questions or whatever, because as a collective, as a media, we have to push in harder, because all that's happening, thanks to a lot of Nick Saban ways, is that they've cut off access. You get viewing time to go see spring practice, right? And then it's like calisthenics and some other you get 10 minutes in fall ball, for like once a week, and you can shoot some drills. I mean, and look, do I understand why? Sure, but to protect strategy players, sure. But when it comes time to hold them accountable, it's difficult because the schools are shutting down access, and I think that's what we're. Go ahead, Mitch.
And to kind of piggyback off of that, Brendan, I'm gonna be careful how to say this. So this past week, I have had to fight very hard for my Kentucky credential Tuesday night. It's kind of a known secret now that I've kind of talked to people in the business. And Rob, I can't remember if I've reached out to you. I was told the local Kentucky media took precedent over some of the local non-everyday Mississippi media this past couple weeks. I was told, hey, we're not going to let you know until the couple days before. I didn't find out that I got credentialed for the Kentucky game until Sunday night at 11 o'clock at night. And I think that there are programs. Ole Miss is one of those that gives ultimate access to everybody. I can reach out to Ole Miss's SIDs and say, hey, I'm coming to the game. No problem. There are programs in our conference that are a little bit more reserved. So that's what a lot of us, and to kind of piggyback what Brendan is talking about, some of us are put behind the eight ball because there are media people out there, and y'all know this, that are donating to NIL funds, that are going to dinners with the coaches and playing golf with the coaches. And then there's guys like me who are the independents that are local in this market. I'm in Mississippi. This is my market. But I don't have, the money to go take a NIL fund, extravaganza. I don't have time to go play golf with a coach. And I'm not getting some of those interviews that some of the bigger name media people in the state are. And it is what it is. You just have to fight a little bit harder. But to Brendan's point, man, you got to be so careful, especially if you're on a certain beat. I've given advice to some people. I'm like, look, you want to ask those questions because they're fair questions, or you want to talk to this coach because everybody else is talking to this coach. But the reality of it, man, this business is so it puts people behind the eight ball so quick if they mess up. or if they say the wrong thing or tweet the wrong thing or whatever, or cover the wrong school, that person is forever put on a B list and have to kind of dig themselves out of that hole a little bit. So just a little piggyback to what Brendan was saying there.
Yeah, I agree. And look, the bottom line is, if I want to ask a question, I'm going to ask it. But I see what you're saying. I don't like censorship. We got to stop it. You've got to make it open for the press to ask questions for the beat writers and everything. We need to open practices back up. We got to go get away from paranoia, big destroyer, because that's where we are. And if I'm a coach, I'm going to be like, look, ask any question you want. I'm not afraid. That's what we need. Mitch, let them know how they can follow you. We got Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, coming on with us, and get you back on here again very soon. Great stuff as always. Keep doing what you're doing and don't back down. I mean, they say that Tom Petty was right, but
that's right.
Ask questions, but you're putting out great content, and we need reporters who are not afraid to ask questions. So appreciate you being on here with us.
Rob, Brendan, thank you all so much for having me on. So it's always a great privilege. You can follow me on Twitter, MitchDavis_8, TheMitchDavisShow.com, podcasts on Apple and SoundCloud, The Mitch Davis Show, and also going to be relaunching the Hit It to Hoover podcast in 2 weeks. Keeps getting delayed because of basketball with college baseball. Central guys going to be looking forward to that. Talking with my boy Matthew Dallas in a couple weeks, talking about his journey from Briarcrest Christian School in Memphis, Tennessee, to now starting midweek pitcher for the Tennessee Volunteers. So very proud of Matthew as a freshman, very proud of him as a friend and as basically a family member. So excited to tell his story in a couple weeks and start putting that content out there. I'll have an interview with Coach Charles Clark out there on Wednesday morning for the University of Memphis, deputy head coach of the Tigers football program. I was at the basketball game on Sunday, so kind of trying to pick up a little bit more with Memphis as well, because I just miss covering the Tigers, man. I'm a Memphis kid through and through, and I'm very proud of what Coach Silverfield is doing down there at Memphis. So thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Love it.
Go Rays. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
I got the last word in. Let's bring in Rodney. He's been patient.
We're good, man. Rodney, thank you for your patience. It's been a wild show this morning. Down on Highway 82, McFarland Boulevard in Titletown, Tuscaloosa. Tighter Insider, folks, only $48 a year. Be a subscriber to be a Tighter Insider. The May Veterinary Clinic report since 1964. Tuscaloosa and Northport, 2 locations, the best in the business of veterinary medicine. Dr. Waller May, Dr. Guy May, all of their associates, the vet techs and everybody, and they have the Google Smart TV on right now in the lobby watching Sidelines with Rodney Orr. Rodney, we got basketball going on. I know you cover everything there. Football is always big. What's happening in Tuscaloosa? A lot of Alabama fans texting me and saying, let's hear from Rodney, and you're also the man, so let her rip.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. It's hard to believe that we're only, a week from Kalen DeBoer's inaugural spring. I think there's a lot of excitement. You talked about access. I don't really know what the media access is going to be for spring practice. I think Kalen DeBoer probably fits closer to what you guys would prefer in terms of access. Now, again, I don't know if he'll get talked out of it by somebody, but there's a potentially we could actually have more access than we've had in years around here. We'll see, but he seems to be much more media friendly. So with all that said, look forward to the start of spring practice next week.
I can't believe it's next week.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, it's going to be 76 degrees here in Memphis today. I mean, we had in the middle of January, we had 6 inches of snow for about 9 days. It was below 0, 2, 3 degrees, but it's spring. Rodney, last year you were ahead of the curve talking about, that Jalen Milroe would probably be the starter. You didn't say probably, you said he would be. You talk now like there might be a legitimate battle for the starting QB spot at Alabama. Expand on that if you would.
Well, I think, again, let me be clear. Jalen Milroe is going to be the number one guy when they start next Monday. And I think what really has to happen here is, you do have 3 other guys that I think are are really talented kids. Ty Simpson, Dylan Lonergan, Austin Mack, the transfer from Washington. And they can challenge Jalen Milroe. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if you ask me today, who do I think will be the starting quarterback going into next season? My money would be on Jalen Milroe. That's still where I'm putting my money as of today. But it's spring practice. We'll see how he kind of adjusts to this offense and whatever they ask him to do and however they tweak it for him in some ways. He's a really talented kid, but he will have to make a lot of improvement as a passer and understanding the offense and those types of things. But those other kids, man, I'm telling you, Ty Simpson is really talented. Dylan Lonergan, there's some people that think he's the best guy in that room, potentially. And then there's Austin Mack, who, frankly, people are really buzzing about. I'm talking about people in high places up there on 323 Bryant Drive. They've got some really strong impressions and feelings about his potential too. So, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting. And I do think that, Kalen DeBoer is going to allow all those guys to get their reps and challenge.
Rodney, in the last 10 years, if you look at that blue chip index, which is a measure of 4- and 5-star talent signed every 4-year cycle on the roster, it's been Georgia and Alabama swapping places at number 1 or 2 in the talent segment. 85% of the roster is just 4 and 5 stars. Yet 31 players leave when Nick Saban retired. I think 29 hit the portal, and then 2 of the high school kids that signed decided they're not coming. How significant are those losses? I know they're big, but don't want to exaggerate things. We want to get the truth, and you're the one to tell it.
Well, I think, first of all, they had to have attrition because right now they're sitting at probably 82 on scholarship. Well, how would they have room for those other 29? I mean, you only have 85. So they knew attrition was coming. Nick Saban had already told people, because people inside the building had told me that, look, if Coach stays, and this was back in the summer, early part of the season, Coach is going to make a lot of changes. I mean, he's going to gut the part of this bottom half of the roster. And I say half, I don't know if it's exactly half, but a bottom part of the roster, he's going to gut it, and he's going to go out and he's going to get other people's best players. So I think that was the plan. I mean, you knew that you were going to have a lot of attrition. You had to. You just simply weren't going to be able to make the numbers work. So most of the ones that left, I don't think it's a lot of thought about it. Be honest with you, I don't know how else to put it. But there's probably 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe you would have wanted to keep. Maybe 2 or 3 that you really wanted to keep. I mean, Caleb Downs, you did not want to lose Caleb Downs. He was a key player. Other than Caleb, Bond replaceable? I think he's very replaceable. Matter of fact, if you gave me the choice right now between Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack, keeping one of those 2, I would pick Niblack. That's just me. I think Bond's replaceable. But, was he a good player? Would you wanted to keep him? Yeah. But so I don't think that for the most part the losses were significant. I mean, I know Jameer Grimsley was he really battled with his decision. The signee from down there in Florida. So him leaving, going back to Florida, I get it. And Julian saying, I think, again, you don't want to lose a 5-star quarterback, but they brought in Austin Mack. And I'm telling you, they brought him in because they really think he's got a tremendous amount of potential. So I don't think those losses are that significant, Rob, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking these questions, because so many people, they saw 31 guys left when the coaching change was made. Now, of the returning Alabama team.
18 of that group, 18 or so had already announced they were leaving before, Saban stepped down.
Yeah. And again, you mentioned Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack and obviously Caleb Downs. I'm shocked he went to Ohio State, but I was shocked that Chip Kelly left UCLA because I don't think he could get any NIL money, and he wanted to be a football coach again. I don't think, by the way, that style of offense will win in the Big Ten. I think it's going to be like when he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. I just don't see it working. But looking at Alabama, the strength of Alabama every year with Nick Saban, great defense. Talk about the guy that's going to be running the defense for Alabama and what kind of style he's going to try to run.
Well,
Kind of system, really, not
it's
style.
fun. It's really interesting that you asked that question because I got a call last night. And admittedly, if you ask me about Kane Womack, I would say, look, I know who he is. I know about him. I remember his father was a really good coach. He was at South Alabama, but I can't sit here and tell you a lot about what maybe the expectations might be because it just, I can read up on him, but I haven't heard a lot of firsthand stuff. Well, I got a call last night and, this guy tells me, he said, look, Saban has met with him. I mean, they talk. And again, let me be clear. Saban's not all up in this stuff, okay? He's not. People are trying to make that into something. He's got an office. He hasn't even been in Tuscaloosa much since he stepped down. I mean, he spent, over a month down in Florida. But he's come back, and he has talked to Womack about the defense or Womack about the defense. And my understanding is that, from someone that knows Saban pretty well, Saban was like, man, I'm really impressed with this guy. A lot of the stuff that he's going to do, that's what I wanted to get to. That's what I wanted to do. And I think Saban just couldn't get the right defensive people to and look, Kevin Steele did a fantastic job. I'm going to be, but I think before Steele, they wanted to go in a direction similar to what Womack's going to lead them in a 4-2-5 defense. Now, look, I think it's very similar to the the nickel defense that Saban ran. So I don't know how much different it really is, but I do think that they're going to be very aggressive in what they do, maybe more aggressive than what the Alabama defense had been under Saban, especially up front. I think that they want to create a lot of negative plays and with their front guys. And so that's going to open up some opportunities for the defensive linemen. And I think the secondary, you hear a lot about the importance of the safeties in this defense and how much responsibilities they're going to have and the opportunities they're going to have to be, if you want to call it, stars of this defense. I think that's going to be a big thing. Now, as far as just seeing it play out, Rob, I haven't even seen them practice yet. So it's kind of hard to say exactly what they're going to do.
And Rodney, this is Brendan. How much do you really want to change, right? I mean, we've seen this before, and many times where, of course, my vantage point is Florida, but I've seen the Dan Mullins come and go, and even Urban Meyer with the Ron Zook players. There's always that, hey, well, those weren't your players that you won with, those weren't your guys, whatever. But how much do you really want to change if you're Alabama right now? Because it's not like you were bad last year.
No, I think the real important thing is, that Kalen DeBoer is Kalen DeBoer. He's himself. And that is really key. And everyone I talked to over there said, look, he's not afraid to emulate, nor is he afraid to make a change. He's going to do it what he feels is best. And I think that's the key right now when you're replacing a guy like Nick Saban. I mean, obviously this doesn't happen very often in history. I mean, there's Bear Bryant and then there's Nick Saban and, these kinds of changes when you're taking over for a guy, whoever it is, very successful, that a guy's willing to be himself. And I think DeBoer is that way. I mean, I think he's going to be Kalen DeBoer and do it his way. But with that said, Brendan, I'm being honest with you. I think you're right. I don't think he's afraid to say, hey, look, this isn't the way we did it, but that's a very successful way of doing it. We want to incorporate that from Nick Saban. I don't think he's going to, there's some coaches come in and they demand their own way and they're not even going to consider. But no, I don't think he's intimidated of any of it. I really don't. So, again, I know it's really positive, but I think there's a lot of positive vibes around Kalen DeBoer right now and the way he's kind of stepped in these last 45, 50 days, whatever, and kind of doing things, his way.
Yeah. And for anybody that thinks that they play a soft brand of football at Washington, they're obviously a football idiot. They don't know football. And you think about in the Michael Penix Jr. He was injured in the national championship game. He's a hell of a player, but I picked Michigan to win. You know that because I thought they were better on both lines of scrimmage. For Alabama fans that show up at A-Day this year, I think it's April 13th or 14th, you said?
13th. Yeah, 13th.
Okay. What are they most likely to see that's totally different from what they've seen in the last 17 years with the man from Monongah, West Virginia, Nick Saban, as the head coach?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I wish I could answer that, Rob. Because look,
Get your crystal ball out, Rodney.
Hey, look. Well, here's the thing: we saw so much from Nick Saban. I mean, over the last 17 years, the one thing about Nick Saban was he was very flexible. I mean, we saw some really bad A-Day games. I'm talking, we saw because defense dominated, and Jalen Hurts couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, in some of these A-Day games. Or Blake Sims, they called him you remember Blake Sims, of course, 2014. They called him rat trap grounders because he skipped the ball to receivers in the A-Day game. Well, you saw he went out and threw for 3,400 yards the next year. But anyway, but then we saw Tua, and we saw Mac Jones, and we saw Bryce Young, and we saw the whole gamut of stuff, from Nick Saban. So what do you? Look, I really think this guy, Kalen DeBoer, is going to be bringing it. Again, I say bringing excited. There's been a lot of exciting brand here already, and in different ways, whether it was a power running team or whether it was whatever. But so I really don't know what's going to look different. I'm like everyone else. I'm kind of just excited to see what it's going to look like, and I look forward to seeing it. I mean, I really do.
Yeah, Rodney. One more question. Before you go, and we just really appreciate you being on the May Veterinary Clinic Tighter Insider Report. And also, folks, catch him Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m., Tighter Insider TV with our friend Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa. 30-minute show, 22 minutes of content, all about Alabama. It's a great show to watch. Watch it live or watch it wherever, but you've got to watch this show. Would Nick Saban, if asked, be the commissioner of college football if we go that route? Do you think? I know you don't know for sure.
You're just asking me for a guess. Yeah.
Yeah, just purely
I would
a swag.
I think he would certainly consider it. Yeah, I do. He's the one that's been talking about a commissioner for a long time. And, Nick Saban, he's probably talking about it because he was envisioning himself in that role eventually.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's right.
You know what? I mean, he doesn't say anything without thinking first. Let me tell you. So
I got to think he is. I mean, he's been vocal. Maybe he just saw the timing. He's like, "Hey, this is the next level." He doesn't want to go pro. What a wonderful opportunity to step in and be a leader. And like he is a natural born leader. I mean, I follow Saban's there's YouTube channels and stuff out there that just got all great speeches about Nick Saban. I mean, he's endearing when you sit there. He talks about life, he talks about philosophies of living and all this stuff. He's very endearing guy to watch and to listen. He's got great lessons.
Yeah.
Oh, tremendous.
Hey, Rodney, I was in the grocery store a couple of days ago and picked up a thing on Nick Saban. It's a magazine about his career. You probably have seen it.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But I've always, when I'm out riding or driving, I listen to motivation tapes of people, and you name them. I don't care where they coach or who they are, and most of them will tell you what Nick Saban believes, and you believe, and I believe. Along the way to the top, people will line up on both sides of the street to tell you how you're going to fail. And you cannot listen to them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've heard it since the day Kalen DeBoer took this job.
Yeah.
Yeah. People will constantly tell you about failing. I mean, who are you going to listen to?
Yourself.
You know what I mean?
You got to listen.
Who are you going to listen to? I tell a story in my book, Rob. We tell ourselves that we're going to fail sometimes. A lot of times we hear those voices. And I kid you not, I'm sitting there doing the business plan to TighterInsider.com in Corpus Christi, Texas at my kitchen table. And I'm writing down every next step that I have to take, right? And every step I'm writing down, I'm hearing something say, why are you doing this? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not. Finally, I got so angry, I slammed my fist on the kitchen table. I jumped up and I said, I'm done. I quit. It's not going to work. This is stupid. It's not going to work. But I heard something say, just sit down and take the next step.
Yeah.
And I listened to that voice. I sat down, I took the next step. And 3 months later, my schedule was so backlogged with radio shows and we were getting so many hits on TighterInsider.com. I was like, wow, what if I'd have listened to that voice that told me to quit, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that's really, a lot of people, even yourself, will tell you sometimes, this ain't going to work. But you know what? You just got to take the next step.
Yeah. I just saw this thing from Brendan Martin, our producer. 8 clicks, 8 more people just bought your book. So keep you on here. Keep you on here all day. You'll sell out. I love it. Listen,
and I need Brendan to text me. So make sure he gets my number.
Yeah.
Rob, fine.
I will do it.
I'll text you after the show.
Yeah, please.
And listen, Rodney, I was talking to my friend John Turner and Jack Turner. Jack is my attorney, and I was just telling John how much I love his son. He's just incredible. And John, I said, remember back in 1996 when you and I started working together, he was talking about you starting this new Tighter Insider business. And I just said, now he's written the book and John's already read the first 50 pages. He's knocking it out right now. But great. It's a great story of coming back. You've been through some tough times, who hasn't, but again, tough times don't last forever, but tough people do. But your faith in God and just your resilience and your story is one people need to pay attention to. And as always, I don't care who these guys cover. I love having you on anytime because you're a good person more than anything. Not only do you really know Alabama, but you're a good person. And we really appreciate you being on here. Let them know again how they can subscribe to Tighter Insider and follow you and all the great work that you do. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, nobody appreciates it more than Brendan and I and all of our listeners and viewers, what you do for this show. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you guys. Definitely. It's TighterInsider.com. And it's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card, or if you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information. We just started our preview for the spring. We did the tight ends and wide receivers last night. We're going to go, do those throughout the week and, catch everything up for the start of spring practice. But it's that kind of stuff, Rob. Of course, the next month is going to be a big visit weekends and time period for, recruits. We'll have all that, but also, our all sports forum. That's our community of Alabama fans. And that's really where it's at, man. A lot of exchange, a lot of discussion, a lot of information, in our community right there at TighterInsider.com. And again, it's only $48 a year. And I think you guys have a link to the book, Bigger Than Bama, in 1995. You can get it on RodneyOrr.com or Amazon, however you want to do it there. You should see the link.
We're taking them to RodneyOrr.com. We figured you.
There you go. That's fantastic. Yeah. That is fantastic. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rodney, look, take care. Look forward to more access. Let's take it back to the old days. Rodney Orr out there with his sterno notepad in the back pocket at practice, talking to the coaches and stuff. And we're going to go back to that, man. Don't say never. Never's a long time. But anyway.
Hey, when Dubose was here, we could practically get up in the drills. Yeah. I mean, it was.
Yeah. Line up for some Oklahoma.
Yeah. That's right. Nothing.
Can't do that anymore. Can't do that anymore.
No.
Can't do that.
Well, who says never? I will say this thing, man. Every day doing this show, I can't sleep. I get so fired up to do it because we have the best guests and all. And God bless you. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Go out and bless other people. You got so much to be thankful for. Rodney, Brendan, everybody, Mitch,
thank you, Rodney.
Chris Lee.
I'll text you. I'll text you.
All right. Great show. Got another one ready to go in the morning. Doug Dean, Dudley Dawson, Vince Ferrara. Get pen and paper handy. We're out of here. See you tomorrow.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the way out if you're not a subscriber. Because
smash it and open up your what is it? Notifications. Hit the
notifications.
Allow notifications in your settings on your Android or iPhone. Forgot about that.
Right. Yeah, got to get that right. All right. Talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good night, day,
Thank
whatever
you.
that is. More Celsius.
That's right.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.